First, I want to say how humbled I am to be here. I learned to trade 10, 12 years ago from Brian Shannon's videos and from Steve Gomez, Today Traders videos. And back then you don't think that you'll be hanging out with them, teaching him something about statistical analysis, that type of stuff. So I hope that at least some of what I present today will have someone else up here maybe teaching me something cool that I don't know about this kind of stuff. So again, just a little introduction. My name's Michael Nauss, Bonpara on Twitter and YouTube. In the chat room as well, I got the opportunity to host the room a couple weeks ago, so I don't know if anyone recognized me from there. But so a little bit about me. I've been a Trade Ideas user since 2006, and this was way back in the day of the old school prop firms. So envision those old CRT monitors with 20 guys shoulder to shoulder, trading 200, 300 times a day, trying to get a penny here, a penny there. And we actually used Trade Ideas then just to find large bids and offers, which is a very simplistic way to trade back in the day, and a game that I think we all enjoyed for a while and then disappeared. So it was great that even back then, it's useful, and it's going to be more useful now, and I'll talk a little bit about how I use it now a little bit differently. From then, I worked in the hedge fund space for a few years. I got a big boy job with a suit and tie and all that, but still using Trade Ideas the whole time for different kinds of trading. So longer term trading, swing trading, intraday positions, that type of thing. About 3 years ago, I left there and I started to come back and trade for myself. And I initially sat down and started to do the same things that I did in 2006, and very quickly was taught that that's just not the way it goes anymore. Right? Technology advanced, we have HFTs and hidden algorithms and all of these things now. So I reached out to Brad and got in with the backtester and started playing with that. And quickly fell in love. It was to the point where I felt lost. I had no idea really what to do, to the point where I could work all night and then have an opportunity the next day to basically work from pure statistics. So from there, when they were helping to build Holly, I contributed a handful of strategies there that, again, you guys may recognize some of those: the wait for the 8, bond shorty, and not a double bottom. I'm a bit short body, if you can tell there. So these are the base strategies that I fed into Holly before she does her magic each and every night. So why I got into algo trading, or auto trading. I guess I should preface that a little bit. From building the back tests and building the Holly strategies, I actually have been working with the Brokerage Plus bot. And now, for the last 6 months, I don't think I've really placed a trade manually myself. Everything is done completely automatically. So the first point is playing to your strengths. I found out a long time ago I was very good at armchair quarterback. When the market was closed and it was time to work, I could look at the charts, I could tell you exactly what I should have done, and then the lights ding on in the morning and everything's flashing in your face and the whole plan goes away, right? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. So I decided, why not, when they were talking about Brokerage Plus and bot trading, I decided why not play to my strengths of building strategies, creating ideas, and then just passing off the execution work to other people. So we're going to talk a lot about bot trading, but I'm actually going to focus this more on how this can assist you as opposed to going deep into the algorithms. Again, I promise there'll be not a single math equation or line of code or anything like this on the screen. We're going to keep things fairly straightforward. And then a better planner and trader, and thinking fast versus thinking slow. So Sean is going to be up next after me, and he is a very fast trader, low float, and that's the way his brain works. He can think on the fly, he can make plans, he can do that. I'm just not that. Right? And it's one thing I think that you're seeing a lot from this particular group is that everybody who's stood up here trades completely different, right? So I think that's very important to keep in mind, is that don't say, oh, this is the way to trade, that's the only way to trade, that's the way to do it. Take everybody you're seeing here and say, this is what I identify with most, and then maybe go from there. So what is auto trading or bot trading? So the Trade Ideas currently links with Interactive Brokers with their Trade Ideas Brokerage Plus. So if you're at all experienced with Trade Ideas, you know that there's topless windows that just sort all the data by whatever you want. And then there's alert windows, which you can have trigger a certain event based off of criteria filtered down by any filter that you want. The bot, once it's connected to your Interactive Brokers, can actually see that alert come through, and through criteria that you define, can put out a purchase order, put out a stop, put out a time until it's time to get out, and a profit target, all without any human interaction at all. On top of it, there's advanced order entry with 1 click. It's technically 2 clicks, but I'll show you how about that, a way to speed up your trading, and a lot of good benefits from there. So again, there's going to be degrees of this, and I'm going to start off very slow and then work into the more advanced stuff from there. So forms of trading, auto trading, and this is the bot-assisted form. So this would be for discretionary traders who simply want to execute faster. Maybe you have ideas that are already being generated, but by the time you bring up your broker platform, you punch in all the orders, you put in your target, you put in your stop, the thing's 5–10 cents away. So with this, and again, it's a little bit shrunk on this screen, all you have to do is fill out a simple order entry criteria for here. So again, with the blurriness, but I'll just kind of go through a bit what I've done here, where this will enter orders from 9:30 in the morning until 4. I have it auto-calculate how many shares to take based on stop loss. So if I'm entering at $10 and the stop is at $9.20 and I want to lose $100, the bot will automatically calculate how many shares to try to purchase for me based off that. And that helps a lot of problems I find that traders have, where maybe you make 50 bucks, you make 50 bucks, you make 50 bucks, and then you have that one trade that kind of wipes out your whole day, right? And that avoids that because every single trade is being self-calculated. I can set my entry criteria. So I'm using a limit price that's a little bit outside what the current market is. I can put a stop loss. You can do a stop loss in dollar amounts, percentage amounts. Here I just have it actually setting the stop at the low of the day for me. And then at the very bottom, you have your exit criteria that's saying at 5 minutes before the close, unless I decide otherwise, get me out of the position. So again, everything can be modified after the fact. And then over by the chart here, you can see that you can right-click on, it's Kroger in this case, any chart window, topless window, Holly, alert window, anything. Right-click, select trade, and your entry scripts will already be listed there. So for 5 minutes of work, you can save yourself filling out that order entry every single time. So the main benefits I have listed here, less time from decision to action. So when you see that Holly alert or you see that alert that you've built come through, you're limiting from a minute to when you have the shares to seconds with 1 click. The other thing is a stop loss for every trade. Again, I do a lot of one-on-one mentoring with traders, and it's what we call the deer in the headlights look, where you enter the position, it immediately goes against you, past your stop, and you freeze, right? This avoids this because you have a stop loss the second your order gets placed, right? It's all taken care of for you. So if you do get in that situation where you freeze, again, everything was taken care of on order entry. Now, when you have the positions, you actually kind of can manage them without going into your broker, without changing stops, without doing anything here. In this one, you can see that I'm in 500 shares of SNCR, and I'm up about 100 bucks in it. I can right-click on the position, and in moments, just click enter exact price for a stop-loss order. I can click move to break even if I don't want to risk any money. I can tighten the stop, I can loosen the stop, as well as I can manage the time stop. Say the bot wants to exit in an hour, but as Brian was just talking about, the thing's not giving me any reason to get out. I can say, you know, push it back another 2 hours and I'll reevaluate it then to see if I want to exit. You can do the same thing with targets. Again, a simple way to manage everything. And for an auto trader like me, who sometimes will have 10, 15 things in their blotter, it makes it a lot easier to sort out from there. So this is kind of the next step for that is what I call the portfolio manager trading. So again, I'm going to simplify this. It's a bit of a procedure, but you can sit down at Trade Ideas every night and this is one thing that I do, you can scan the markets for whatever criteria, whatever you want, gappers or pullbacks or whatever it is that you want, and you can create a watch list. You can feed that watch list directly into the bot and say, okay, I want you to look at these 10 stocks, and I want you to only trade them if the stock doesn't gap up the next day. It's breaking resistance. I don't want it moving too far outside of an average true range. I don't want it moving any criteria that you can imagine, you can specify. So if you think about how most people trade, is they build their watch list, they have their 50 monitors, they put all their charts up, and then they try to watch everything for an intraday setup that they like to continue. And you can imagine what happens, and what happened to me a lot, is you're watching everyone except the one that did exactly what you wanted and made a bunch of money that day. So now you feed this into the bot, and you're no longer the trader, you're the portfolio manager, right? You created this the night before, and it's going to trade for you. And then going back to the other slide, once they're in your blotter, you can have a simple alert play, something that dings in your ear. And then when you're in your blotter, you can actually then go modify the orders and do everything from there, right? So again, auto trading without needing to be an MIT grad, without needing to program, without really needing to know anything about statistics. You just know what you like, and you can tell the bot, I want to trade those only when certain things happen. So here's kind of the final step. I just call it letting go. And later, when I get back, a plug for my YouTube channel, I will share this strategy that I made and show, different forms of trading and why I built it and how you guys can build it. But if you watch the webinars at all with Steve Gomez, you can actually see this on the corner of his screen, a bouncer strategy. So this is using the backtester. So the best way to describe the backtester is, I believe, a term that Brad and Dan coined, where it's event-based. So what you're doing is, say your trading mentor, your book, your course, whatever it may be, says you buy things when they hit the 200-day moving average and bounce. You can go to Trade Ideas and simply say, okay, I want you to show me stocks that have hit the 200-day moving average and are now bouncing. And you can say, what happens if I bought those? I held them for a minute, or you held them for 2 days, or whatever your time horizon is, with a 1% stop and a 3% target. And then what it's going to do is it's going to go through that alert window up to back a quarter and say, basically what would have happened. And it's going to run every single one of those events. This one you would have won, this one you would have lost, this one, right, was break even. And you can see that you get an equity curve at the end. You get a bunch of information. Again, I don't know how that's transporting, but this particular strategy is, I believe it's about a 70% win rate with about a 1.5 risk to reward. And you can then dive in on that as well, where you see this calendar here. Each of these days, I can open up and I can actually nail into every single trade that took place. When did it enter? When did it exit? Did it get stopped? Was it a profit target? How long did it hold? All of that information as well. From then, you can go in to optimize it. So you can go into the optimization tab and you can go say, okay, well, I want to know, how does the 50-day moving average affect my 200-day moving average strategy? And it will tell you. It says, okay, well, if it's above, maybe you have a better win rate. If it's below, you have a worse win rate. But it will tell you all those things. So again, back to myself and how I've traded, I've gotten to the point where 90% of my trades just happen automatically from stuff like this with some interaction from myself. And again, I can't program. I'm not a mathematician. I'm a finance guy. So again, you don't need really any of that as well. It also gives you max risk and buying power. So you can see how much, whether or not the buying power in your particular account is enough to handle this particular strategy. So I wanted to give some takeaways. So I know that what I just presented to a handful of people is going to be incredibly interesting. And a lot of people might say, I am never letting a robot touch my account. I'm just not doing it. But I think the tale of me using this kind of software to become more of a profitable trader has a lot to do with people who want to discretionary trade. First of all, there's no foreseeable future where the market gets slower. When I was trading back in 2006, we were just messing with the specialists, which was the guy with the funny jacket and the little Palm Pilot hammering away. He's long gone. It's all been computerized from there. It's getting faster every time there's a new piece of regulation, right? We all know about HFTs and flash boys and this whole 9 yards. So it's getting in T2 instead of T3. So everything's getting faster. So if you're sitting there saying, yeah, I like filling out my order ticket the old school way and trading that stuff, I would implore you just to try an automated strategy, just to try a back test, just to even the one-click order entry to speed things up, because again, we're not going backwards, right? This is only going to get faster and harder to navigate. So these tools are amazing. And then a systems-based approach to all trading. Because before, I did everything based off the statistics and Holly and the back testing. I was like most traders where I had a general understanding of what I wanted to look for. And I would just go in every day and look for that. But now, even if I'm taking a trade from Holly with the one-click order entry, there's an entire system behind everything. There is your entry, there is your stop, there is when you're going to get out, there's the reasons you're going to get out. Everything is taken care of the second you hit the button. So if you do have a problem and you're an emotional trader and you find yourself doing things that are maybe detrimental to you, again, this is a way that you could set it and literally walk away. I've done that a few times where I'm not feeling the market, but I know the bot is, so I will just remove myself again from the situation. So, and then ensure you're trading with the odds and not trading with feel. When I started to get with the back tester, that was a huge thing for me. I started playing with it and I started to build some of these algorithms that worked, and then I just kind of said to myself, why would I ever guess ever again? I have a general idea of what my back tests are going to yield. I know that every trade, whether I'm letting the bot do it or whether I'm taking them myself, there's at least statistics on my side, right? There's at least a 60% win rate that this is going to hit. It gives you the confidence, I guess, to stick with your own trading style. And then at the same time, as I mentioned, where you can go through and see how your trading performance was, in the back test, if I see 2-3 losing days in a row, I can go back and I can say, well, that's just part of the strategy. I'm no longer jumping from ship to ship the way that I used to when I trade. You have a losing day and, oh, I don't like this style anymore, I'm going. I can see how that kind of works. Detailed plan for every trade, stop targets, and again, the law of large numbers. I was always very concerned with every trade. And again, I think I'm probably describing stuff that every trader has been through, where if you were lost on a trade, you were personally offended. It hurt. I'm a smart guy. Why did that not work out for me the way I wanted to? And now I'm to the point where I know if I'm back testing, and with the back tester, you can run 6,000 trades in a matter of minutes. I know that if I get a 70% win rate, well, every 10 trades, I'm going to have 3 losers. And I know that I can see that before it happens. So when it does happen in real life, that there's just not really, it's not a problem. It's all to be expected. And again, to become bionic, right? You don't need to be fully robotic like me, but you should at least try to bring this in. I think that's kind of the reason we're here. So I'll open up to any questions. I don't know how I did for time, but Dan.
How did you cross that barrier from not going bionic to finally saying, you know what, I'm gonna give it a try? Like, what were the mental hurdles that you had to cross, because they're a challenge to others? So I'm just saying, like, how did you finally get yourself over whatever hump you had to get over?
It was, I was in a friend of mine who,
Repeat the question.
So, sorry. So the question was, how did I get over the mental hurdle of kind of letting a robot do it, maybe letting go of some of the old technical analysis and stuff like this that I did in hopes of the statistical analysis. And I was in my friend's Tesla, and it's auto-driving type car. And the first time he took the hands off the wheel, it was absolutely terrifying. But he made sure it was in a pretty quiet street. There was nothing too dangerous, right? But you're like, this is, and that's the same way I auto-trade it. When I started small. I started by building the algorithms and then trading them myself. Just knowing the statistics were on my side helped me with that. And then after a few weeks of seeing it work, and it's like, okay, let me put it in there with 100 shares and let it go. And then let me up it a bit. Now let me build another algorithm. So I think that's kind of the best way to start, is very slow, very simply, and then build from there so you're not getting too terrified too quickly. And then when you make mistakes, which any new trading strategy you'll make mistakes, you want to make your mistakes as small as humanly possible. Oh.
Is there any plans for using any other trading platform versus IBB? Personally, if I see a Holly alert, I like to click on it and let the bot take over.
So the question, I think, rolling it out to other brokers, it's in beta now currently. I think the game plan is to get it fully fleshed out and out of beta and then start exploring different options. The benefit from the little programming knowledge I have is that once the bot is built, I think it's much quicker to adapt it to different platforms than actually kind of building it from the ground up. So for me, I think it was a great beta test. I think everything's working smoothly, but I think they want to make sure everything is rock solid and then kind of move it out from there. So.
Yeah, you said you're using the bot for most of your trading now. So my question is, how many strategies a day are you trading, and how many trades a day are you getting from that?
Okay, so the question on how many strategies and how many trades on average. I personally trade 6 strategies on average. I have multiple accounts going on. If you go to my YouTube, I'm actually doing something now where I took part of my retirement account, put it into Interactive Brokers, and started to trade that way. Again, in hopes to demystify that this isn't just for high-frequency MIT grads, that this is something you can do with a retirement account. We're up 7%, I think, in a month. No leverage, no shorting, that kind of thing. That particular account, I'm just running 3. So it really has to tailor to what it is that you're looking for. If you have low commissions and a thirst for action, you can build ones that will trade 100 times a day if you really want it. I like to stick to something that I can manage myself if I'm looking at it from my phone or something like this. So I try to stick to trying to hit about 5 to 10 trades a day is about a comfort spot for me.
How does this move, like if the platform undergoes a large upgrade and a lot of back-end software gets changed, how does the bot resync with that? Is there, I mean, do you go manually change everything to now sync with the platform?
Sorry, and just to clarify, with the IB or with trade ideas?
With what you've built with whatever platform you use.
Okay, so the question is, I guess, when there's an update, whether or not that affects anything. Because most of the stuff's being handled on the trade ideas side and orders are just being spit to IB, unless the actual broker goes and changes their code a lot, it doesn't really affect it. Now, as for the strategies, I update those usually on a weekly basis, which, again, a little bit of an insight to Holly. I said that I wrote some of the bases, but those are just the base strategies. So what I do weekly on my 6 strategies, Holly does every night on 40 strategies, right? So it might take me a few hours per strategy to tear them down and build them up to make sure they're working in the current market environment. But that's, again, the benefit of Holly is that she's doing it to 40 of them every night. So.
Couple questions.
Yep.
One relates to what you were just talking about when you tear down and tweak your algorithms and your filters. What's that process like, and kind of what are you looking for? And then the second question is this idea of man and machine, right, or man with a machine.
Yep.
How do you apply discretion? Like, do you take every single trade that the auto trader comes up with, or do you somehow filter, and what are your filters that you use?
Okay, so the first question was, how do I tear down and rebuild the strategies when they kind of stop working, which happens frequently. And what I do is I start with a base, and you'll hear that used when we talk about Holly and all these other things, a base strategy. So for example, bond shorty, which is one that I built, is a very simple strategy that's looking for a stock that had really bad price action the prior day and looks like it's continuing today. So that's the base. It's only 2 or 3 alerts, and there's really nothing else to it. So what I'll always do is strip down to the basic idea. And if the basic idea works in theory and has a decent win rate, then I'll just pare it down, again, using the backtester, where you can go and say, okay, well, what does VWAP affect? What does the volume affect? Moving averages, what are they affected? Other indicators, how do they affect it? But I'm always sticking true to that raw strategy. Sorry, the second question was, if I take every trade, how I manage. And again, what I do is I look at the statistics the same as Holly, as a nice, simple base. So I will only kind of cover risk. And again, I think Brian Chan said it perfectly, well, we are risk managers. That's what we do. So I will never widen a stop, right? I'll never increase the size unnecessarily. What I will do is if the stock is working and I'm able to put a break-even stop out, then I may hold it for longer, right? I will only lengthen the time for the trade to work. I'll never shrink things down or move them up. And then again, every trade is at least initiated by the bot, so I know those statistics are on my side. Time for one more. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it was basically the question was, how do I size everything? Do I apply more or less risk to one trade or another? And I use a consistent risk across all trades. And again, one of the main benefits of the bot is I can say I want to risk, say, $100 on each trade. It will calculate, this is where I think your entry is going to be, and this is where I think your stop's going to be. And if you hit both of them, if you get stopped out, you're going to lose $100. So I know that if I take 5 trades on average throughout the day and every single one of them loses, I know kind of what my max downside is. I find that when I start to play with that too much, it's the one that I size up on is, of course, going to be the bad one. The ones that I'm small on, those will do fantastic. All right, so I'm getting the hook now. Thank you very much, guys.